Listen, why is it that I can only record my videos when I'm pretty sure that there's no one around? Would I be able to do the same thing? Would I talk to myself like this if I thought that there were other people in the room listening? And what if that's just the thing? I'm able to record these because I think I'm alone, but what if there's really people out there listening and watching me without me knowing? Would I be able to keep making videos? Oh shit. All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews. Basically, if you're new to this, you're watching a newbie drop himself in the middle of in season 8 to watch Doctor Who for the first time. And so far, I know I'm a layman. I know that I am definitely a noob, but I am loving season 8. It might as well be season 1 for me, but I'm loving Peter Capaldi. I'm loving Jenna Coleman. I'm loving this story. I'm loving every single thing about this. And so I hope you guys enjoy watching somebody experience the Doctor for the first time, and also maybe hopefully cut me some slack on stuff that I don't know, because there's a lot I don't know and things I'm figuring out, but I am loving every fucking minute of it. And I just love this beginning. This beginning is so fucking cool, and to me, it sums up how I think I'm gonna feel about this Doctor. Or just Doctor Who in general, is just the way the Doctor thinks. Like, if you're a Time Lord and you're out there for, basically immortal, right? And what would you get to thinking about when there's just limitless imagination, limitless, time, limitless just everything? Wouldn't you end up having this kind of conversation with yourself? And it's great that he's having it with himself. And it's one of those conversations that I would have with myself. Because I've talked about, I'm talking to myself right now. And that was kind of the joke about the beginning. But are we ever really alone? It's such an interesting concept of what's there when we think maybe there, nobody's there, but there is. That's a horror movie right there. That reminds me of the movie It Follows and stuff, where it's just the stuff that you can't see but is there. And that whole concept carried throughout the rest of this episode is fantastic. And the way that they handled it in different ways is just so fucking cool. Because I was trying to think to myself, if I was a Time Lord, what would I be thinking about? What would, if there's no limits to what you could imagine, and being able to go wherever, I still can't believe that I'm just getting into this show now. I didn't have enough people that really liked Doctor Who to get me into this. But then we also get into that, what if everybody, at some point in their life has the same nightmare? Again, they're taking it, and I'm going, okay, he's talking about this, but where's he going with this? Because we can't just start at the one thing and then go to the next thing without it being connected. Which gives us this really great personal story in the middle of all this that ends up having these huge ramifications that I can only imagine for people that have been watching this show for a really long time. And that's, Clara's out on a date with the guy from her school. I happen to think he's a bit of a drip, but maybe that's what she likes about him. I like the character, actually. He's just kind of, I don't know. War has changed him. And you get to see how and feel what it's like when you're on a date. And it really does feel like this, when you're having to force conversations, you start talking about work, and then you start kind of maybe finding out stuff about each other. And I do think that over the course of this little bit of time, and when she just is up and decides to leave, I was like, where are you going? Like, this isn't how you, like, you know, you don't just give up like that, like, right away, unless you think it's really going that badly. But I didn't think it was going that badly. I think that they were just maybe in the wrong place for you know, for that kind of conversations. But I love how they're both, like, even when, like, with the whole thing when they were asking, when he was trying to ask her out, they're both still just, like, so with it, about it. And so when she takes off with the doctor, who I love the whole thing with the, you know, why do you have so many mirrors? Why can't you just turn your head? I love it. And yeah, you've taken off your makeup. Like, you've already taken off your makeup. No, I haven't. He just, oh my God. So he takes her on a little trip to where she is, like, experienced this dream about the foot the foot being grabbed under the bed. And now you're like, well, why is he talking about this? Why is he talking about the under the bed stuff? So clearly, like, this is all just one big, like, huge thing going on in the doctor's head that's all connected, but we won't know until the end. And I love the reveal at the end. But she gets distracted and thinks of Pink, right? That's I can't remember his first name right now. But she goes to him when he was a kid. And I guess this is, like, really happening, and that this really, you know, like, I mean, he, you know, they say that he doesn't remember it later, but the whole thing where she goes under the bed, and just her whole interaction, because of her being a teacher, like how she's just so good with children. She's a really interesting companion as far as I can tell. Because I saw, like, a couple of episodes of Billie Piper, and she was all like Billie Piper. But Clara, I really like her because she's able to take, I don't know, being around kids and being around the doctor is kind of like the same thing a little bit, I think. And so patience and things like that she has is really amazing. And so dealing with this kid and his fears and stuff, and when she goes into the bed and something sits on it, I actually, when the first time I watched this, I was like, oh shit, what is going down in Chinatown? Because it just seemed like this was an unexpected scare to me. And I didn't want her to get up from under that bed. I was like, nope. Because, you know, once the kid's like, nobody came in, I was just like, oh, fuck me. So yeah, and her whole, like, talking like, hey man, having a bit of a laugh and everything. Nope, look, I know the script calls for it, but you drop me in this story and I'm out that door, I would be leaving a cartoon imprint on the door, like, poof. But the doctor shows up looking for Wally. I love that. That's great. How do you know, like, Wally's not in every book. Well, there's some years of my life I'd like to get back. I thought he was going to say something along the lines of, have you looked hard enough? I was expecting that kind of line. But then he gives this amazing speech about fear and being afraid. And just all of the cadences that his voice goes through as he's talking to this kid is amazing. And the whole thing is fear is a superpower is a pretty interesting idea, because the thing you're afraid of, it's not afraid. So you have an advantage because it's in a resting state of fear. Like, it is what it is. It has no other, like, it can't ramp itself up. You can only ramp it up for yourself. And so you're going to be stronger and faster and whatever, you know. And I thought that's a really interesting way to look at it. Like how adrenaline can make you do these things and whatever. So they don't look at it. They scramble the kid's brains. He thinks he's Dan the soldier man. And she goes back and fixes her date. But then he walks out on her. And I was like, dude, she came back. You don't get up and leave in a huff. I thought that it's like, that girl just came back to the table. You look like you do. She looks like she does. Plus, she's fucking awesome. And you're going to get up and leave now that she came back because you were being a certain way? And you're going to up and leave her? Nuh-uh. But then this is when things just really get, like she says, surreal. It can't get any more surreal. Is you think it's him, you think it's the doctor beckoning to her in this, like, spacesuit, when it turns out to be this guy named Orson who looks just like the date. And when it's slowly but surely revealed through some really interesting storytelling and the doctor being a certain way, that this kid is like her great grandchild or something along those lines. I like that they just slowly, like, we kind of put two and two together, but the way that they let her understand the knowledge of what's going on is really, really great. And poignant for what they need in this story for her to go back to this normal thing, which is just a date, while the doctor is going through this fucking epiphany-sized, crisis of whatever, his own fear, I guess. Where we end up at the end of everything, which is, come on, that's awesome. What would be at the end if there's nothing else here? If there's no voices and no life and everything else, all those things that are out there that we can't see, wouldn't they finally show themselves? And the fact that we don't see is great, and whatever is going on is great. But when she goes to the barn and we think it's more of the same, and we find out that this is the doctor, and that there's like plenty of people, like you said, they said boys. We also get that shot of John Hurt. Now I know that is from one of the specials, I think, and that made me think of the Dark Tower for some reason, like going all the way to the barn at the end of all things. I have not seen that episode clearly or any of that, so I don't know what that's quite about. I would say it's maybe the end of the Doctor or something like that. But don't anybody spoil that for me. Just let me know where I can find that so that it's easily accessed when I do want to watch it. Because I knew that John Hurt was in something. There was like what? Was that the reunion special where all the doctors that were still around came together? But yeah, after all this, and it's kind of like he's dealing through his own fears, and she's dealing with the realization of her future and all this stuff in this simple story about he gets it in his head of what's out there when we don't think anybody's there. And it's just a fantastic episode. And I talk even more about it, but there is a great deal of background noise going on in my house right now, and so I'm going to cut this short. I hope that this was good enough for everybody. I really enjoyed this episode, and maybe I'll talk about it on some other video when there isn't sounding like fucking banging pots and pans in the house. So anyway, I apologize for the abrupt ending to this video, but if you did like it up until that point, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Otherwise, this is Rob at Smirking at Review saying have a great day, and we will see you later. Bye.